tonight's NBA slate. And the good news about me yesterday is that I didn't feel like I had a chance to make like life altering whatever kind of money yesterday. So it actually was a bad day. It didn't feel great to have a bad day, but I did have a good showdown slate. And Sheets, why don't you talk a little bit about how you you had a million outs in the showdown?
I'm telling you, I've done so much work on this stuff. You know, I all my videos on like how to try to get unique and things like that. You know, I've had a couple of real shots recently. And last night in the showdown slate, I had about 35% Josh Oliver, who was 1% owned, and he scored a touchdown and another reception within like 5 seconds. And I'm like, okay. And it's so funny. You could tell like if you look at the DraftKings thing, like 30 liners were like pinned to the right, and like all the others were just like kind of all the way off to the left, right in the app, right? Right. And I literally like had maybe 20 lineups that all had like legitimate chances to win like 300,000. Like I had Oliver and then like all these other combinations, and like 3 different times. One was in first, one was in third, one was in first, one was in ninth, then was fourth, and then I just needed like literally any of the normal people to kind of whatever. And then like Will Lutz put on a freaking show. You know, it's like field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal, and it just disappeared. But it just shows, man. I mean, you get these unique lineups that have some kind of shot, and then you get lucky. You know, that puts you in a shot with like a real sweat, and that's really all you can ask for. So, absolutely. So the bad news is I'm going to be keeping doing that kind of stuff, and from tonight's slate to all 4 showdown slates over the Thanksgiving Day holiday, you know, listen, it's interesting to me because you're not really looking to make the best plays. You're just looking to make like unique plays that have like a remote chance, right? And being able to know what. You know, it's like the Bill Clinton thing. Depends what your definition of remote is. You know what I mean? It depends what your definition of the word real chance is. You know, it depends on your definitions. But that's it. But so now let's get back in the NBA where it's all more normal and
where it's all more normal, right?
More normal, where I can't win. So let's see what happens.
All right, well, we'll get into the NBA just to give everybody a quick update on my schedule. We're both out for live tomorrow. I'm going to try and see if Rody can step in and do a basketball one.
Tomorrow, Tuesday.
Yeah, tomorrow, Tuesday. We're good for live tonight. I will not be doing live for football tonight because I have a birthday party I have to go to right at 4 or 7 Eastern. And but I will be good for live NBA.
I'll tell you what I have, by the way. I already did a video on the NFL Showdown slate, which I was going to wait to post till after this.
Oh, awesome.
And it's going to be pretty interesting because I'm telling you, it's going to be some wild. What's happening is Dallas Goedert is out. So it's like the Philly tight end show. Like all of them are cheap. So,
right. And we have literally no idea exactly.
Trying to figure out between Jack Stoll, Alberto, and this other dude who's
the young guy.
Yeah. So that's going to be the battleground.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's jump into the NBA slate. We've got it's a nice slate. That's 8-gamer. Hopefully, make me forget about the weekend really quickly.
The beauty of DFS, man, it's like a new day.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Exactly. All right, what do you got in the? You got Washington, Milwaukee first, right?
Yeah. So first of all, overall on the slate, there's again. It's early, but so far it's like very very little value on the slate, which is like annoying because you want to play guys like Jokic, for example, who project like 10 points higher than everybody else and like 70-point median or something like that. But in the absence of that, it looks to be sort of a middling type of build. Now, the guy I'm not getting to really is Giannis, because again, if it's going to be tough to get to these top spends anyway, I just assume get to Jokic. So I'm not really getting to Giannis and not really much on the Milwaukee side. Washington, I am getting to a little bit of, and one of them is kind of like a real speculative, kind of stupid value plays that I just never get right is the Corey Kispert. Get on a slate that really doesn't have that much value. He's like the best of like blah alternatives. But then the guy that you turned me on to, a couple of times, the Koulibaly is not too bad as far as value also. You can try to make this game make it seem close and play the normal guys, try Kuzma or take another shot at Poole or something like that. But for me, I'm just probably getting some of those pieces, at least right now. And I did a video with a lineup build, which I'll post. I was going to wait literally. I did it on purpose. I wanted to go through the deep dive before I even posted the video I did earlier. But currently, I was getting some of this this Koulibaly and the Kispert in some of my builds.
Yeah, I have Koulibaly as a guy who I want to play because I think it's pretty much somewhat game script proof. Of course, I say that and anything could change at any moment. They like this young guy. They're playing him around 30 minutes. He's been playing 30 plus a lot of the games recently. Obviously, a good pace because Washington's playing and Milwaukee will happy to run up and down the court with you. And then you get into like the guy you didn't mention that I was sort of considering, and it's kind of gross, but it's because of this slate. I think you could argue for Landry Shamet as a very thin value play. And I probably don't get into a game stack, but if we get enough other stuff, I wouldn't mind a Giannis with Kuzma on the other side, maybe throw in a Koulibaly or Kispert, something like that. Or Jordan Poole, who's now gotten so cheap. I think we actually have, you got to consider it. So I actually think there's a lot of appealing things in this game on the Washington side, but it's just nothing that like we don't have the value to make the game work. And I'm much more interested in Washington if I get to play Giannis on the other side, or even like I think the one that's kind of interesting that no one's going to seem to want to play. Koulibaly is 4,600. Malik Beasley is 4,900. Malik Beasley has put up 31 and 40 in two of the last. Now one of the games Lillard was out, but he put 40 in one of the games Lillard was in. I wouldn't mind like taking a slim shot there. So like when we're looking for value, I just think there's a lot of guys to consider here. Hopefully we have better value by the end of the day when we come back for live. But as of right now, I'm considering all these guys. And I think right now Koulibaly is my favorite play in the game. But if I can get to Giannis, I certainly wouldn't mind doing that in that matchup. All right, Boston, Charlotte. What do you got here?
Well, it's a back-to-back for Boston. They were very close to going to overtime, but they pulled it out over Memphis yesterday. It's funny, my son's back for like the weekend, and we were watching it. We were watching Memphis. Like, who are these people? This is like the worst team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're like, who? And then like the best guy on the court was like Aldama, like by a lot. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Boston pulled that one out. Obviously watch for the not usual suspects, but might maybe sit on a back-to-back. Maybe Horford. He might sit on a back-to-back. I don't know if they would sit anybody else on. It's possible, but obviously keep an eye on that. I'm not really getting it too much on Boston. Charlotte, your man has like returned with a freaking vengeance, sort of. It's not like he blew the cover off the ball, but Miles Bridges is just back like he never left. With the minutes at least, right? I get
33 and 31.
32 minutes. Certainly not the best matchup in the world. But again, on a slate that's bereft of value, whatever it is, like these 5,500, 6,500 guys are going to be pretty important. I would try that and sort of sneaky revenge Hayward against the Celtics. Not a big deal, but LaMelo 9,900. Again, it's definitely not the matchup that you want to play, but he's still no Rozier. Still, I presume he's been smashing, right?
Yes, over 55 straight games.
There's nothing but put up fantasy points. Now, again, listen, he did against the Knicks. The Knicks usually play pretty slow. Mm-hmm. Miami, he did against them. They usually, and then they get twice against the Knicks. So, seems to be, I hate to say matchup proof when you're dealing with the Celtics, but I think LaMelo, Miles Bridges, and then the Celtics, I would probably only play them if if I'm playing someone from the, if there's an injury or something.
Yeah, and I think that this could be our potential source for some value. You know what I mean? It's not going to be all the way down to the bottom value, but it'll be, if Jaylen Brown and Kristaps sit again on the back-to-back, which I think one of them will.
Okay.
Creighton Pritchard becomes more desirable. Derek White, Drew Holiday, basically all the Celtics. This game becomes stackable, I think, if those two guys sit. As of right now, the line, though, is still Boston -9 on the back-to-back, which makes me feel like at least Vegas doesn't seem to assume they'll be sitting. But we'll see later. It's one of the earlier games, so hopefully we'll have that news well before lock. But that whole game, and I'm not getting to anything outside of Bridges right now from the Charlotte side. I just want to point out, like looking down, LaMelo makes perfect sense. But I looked at every point guard in that price range, 9K to 10K basically, and they all look like terrific plays. And I don't know that LaMelo is any better of a play than the other ones. Lillard is a you could say that's a reach, but he's been on fire lately too. You got De'Aaron Fox at 9,300. So it's really just who do you want, LaMelo or those guys? And if the Boston guys are out, I think the answer is LaMelo. If the Boston guys are in, I think it's probably one of De'Aaron Fox or something like that. All right, moving over to Denver, Detroit, right?
Yeah, I guess I could start. So, Jokic is, as I alluded to before, is the top point play on the slate. If you think that you're going to need him to put up the fantasy points that he's able to put up, I mean, he's a smash play. And he's going to score 70 plus if he plays his 35 minutes, I guess. They're probably a big favorite, even though they're on a back-to-back. But yet still, I mean, he looks like a really, really good play. Other guys, though, that look like good plays are Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. They look good and cheaper. On the Detroit side, I mean, there's some funny business sort of going on. Killian Hayes sat yesterday, and they actually moved what's his name, Jaden Ivey, into the starting lineup. I remember I was on top of yesterday. I was playing the NBA.
Yeah,
and Jaden Ivey got the start, ended up going 40% owned, and that did not work out too well for the Jaden Ivey supporters. Sasser, he only played 20 minutes, but he scored 20 fantasy points. You just have to see if Killian Hayes is playing or not. If he's out, I guess those guys look sort of reasonable. Cade Cunningham he's not really showing up for me. So I don't know. There's definitely blowout risk involved in this. No different than the Milwaukee, maybe a little different than the Milwaukee blowout risk if you want to play Giannis, I suppose. Yeah, and I built two different sets of lineups when I did my thing earlier. Is one with Jokic and trying to fill in like these point per dollar plays, and the others without Jokic. And the ones without Jokic were mostly all of them were getting either Porter or Gordon from Denver here. That's pretty much, I mean, all I have except for the usual nonsense with Denver centers to see who's playing or not.
Yep. Yeah. Look, star for value. I think you can consider Reggie Jackson and Kentavious Caldwell.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
But I don't love it. Like I do think, look, Reggie Jackson, you want to build a narrative. Again, another team he used to play for on the road. Hey, why not? It's certainly possible on a back-to-back. I like Michael Porter Jr. the best, but I would say that I sort of agree with what you said. Like if I'm not playing Jokic, I'm probably going to get to Gordon, Porter Jr. or Gordon. That's just how the builds are going to lead me. Or Reggie Jackson. So I do think you're going to end up playing one of those guys the most. I can't get to anything from Detroit if Killian Hayes plays. Nothing quite seems like it makes enough sense for me to go there, but I'm willing to reconsider it. And I'm also curious what might change my mind about this slate is if they change their mind about what they're doing at center and decide they actually want a little more size. Maybe they don't. Maybe they want to keep rolling with Stewart and Knox in the starting lineup. But if there was a matchup that obviously demanded you play with more size, that might be this. I don't know if they feel how well they feel good they feel about Marvin Bagley guarding Jokic though. But if he slid into the starting lineup, I would consider him. That's really all I have from Detroit. All right, moving on. What do we have next here? We've got a full hour in between games, right? Yeah,
full hour between games, but then there's a whole bunch of 8s, and then 2 hours for the last one.
Right.
There's a whole glut of these 8 p.m. games, just so everybody knows. Yeah. And the first couple we could run down narrative street a little bit, but I'll start. I'll start with the Chargers or the Clippers, or whoever the hell these guys are. First of all, I'd like to whine just a little bit. It was an amazing call by Bobby with Houston at Clippers with the money line the other day.
We got unlucky there.
They were like a big underdog, and they were winning the whole game, and they were up by like 5 with like a minute and a half to go or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they did this, and then the game was tied. And then freaking Harden just crushed me.
Yeah.
You can step back 4-point play like it was just like 2018. It was just freaking crazy. Anyway, couple of points in this game. I am getting to some of these Clippers. Either Kawhi or Paul George, actually. And the least vengeful person on the face of the earth, he's probably going to be hugging or whatever it is. But you do have Kawhi for the 400th time going back to San Antonio, I suppose. And he looks reasonable to me. And then you have the value play of Norm Powell. I mean, he's 4,100, and I don't know what the spread is in this game, but if this game whether it blows out or not, you know what I mean? I think that he's, again, there's very little value on the slate. So if the San Antonio gets into like Globetrotter mode, you know what I mean, which is very possible, I think that he's in play. So all these guys, again, like I say the same thing about these Clippers. You don't want to play them, but they're at prices where it might not be that bad, you know. Yeah. So I like Kawhi, I like Powell, and then on San Antonio, you can tell me when I'm supposed to play the Champagne because I never quite know. I'm probably just going to avoid all of that stuff and maybe just take a crazy shot with Wembanyama at an extreme price, I guess. So I wouldn't mind doing that. Like Wembanyama at 8,800. I don't think people are necessarily going to play him. Probably only gets 20 minutes after they get run out of the building. But I like him. And then I just want one other guy, and I don't want to play this Shetty Osman guys. I want to play somebody who's going to be in the game, like during good minutes. Mm-hmm. Keldon Johnson, maybe. I'm not sure. So I don't know. Again, not the greatest game environment in the world if it blows out, I guess. But I don't know. Okay, Powell, Kawhi, Wembanyama, and somebody else. That's what I want to play for this.
Yeah, I think those are all totally fair. I like one of Harden or Kawhi. I think you pick one of those guys. I prefer Harden slightly to Kawhi, but I'm totally good with Kawhi. I also think Paul George is in play if you wanted to go. I mean, I really don't have it's going to be hard to figure out which of these guys are going to have the games. I still think they're trying to get Harden going, so that's sort of the narrative that I'm playing into. I also just want to point out, I don't care if they win by 1 million tonight. It doesn't feel right for the Clippers to be 8.5 points favorites on the road at all, to be honest with you. It doesn't really make sense that they're 8.5 point favorites at home even. I just don't understand this. So I understand that San Antonio is not very good, but this is, I don't know. They're 1-6 now, right? With Harden. Anyway. So I like the idea of getting
the one win, right? The one win.
The one win, right. It was the one we had the other side of it. Right. On the other side, it's kind of interesting. Zach Collins just had one of his best games ever, and no one wants to play him, and it's not a bad matchup. I don't know. I don't mind that, and I don't mind Wembanyama, but I don't have any priorities on the other side. Wembanyama is going to just have games like he did the other day where he had 8 blocks. You know what I mean? That's just going to happen. He's going to probably end up leading the league in blocks by the end of the year, and probably a guy you should consider playing more on FanDuel than DraftKings. That's the way I would put it. The Champagne thing, even when he went nuts that night, I'm not going to say it's fluky that he can't do that kind of stuff, but you have to remember, he had 7 stocks in that game. That's the reason why he went crazy. He had 4 steals and 4 blocks and 3 steals. So he's going to have nights like that, but I don't know that I want to use his value, especially tonight. All right. Although, again, he belongs in the same, conversation with all these other guys that all look like really ugly value. All right. Why don't you start off the Miami game?
All right. Just again, since we're talking about Kawhi going back to San Antonio, I would be remiss to not point out that there's number 1, no Tyler Hero, and number 2, Jimmy Butler's going back to Chicago. So we talk about. I ask Bobby all the time. I mean, there's probably only 11 regular season games that you want to play Jimmy Butler, and I don't know. Maybe this is one of them. So I'm going to ask him once I stop analyzing, because he certainly doesn't project well. Nobody in this game really projects well. Just game log watch, you see Duncan Robinson is all of a sudden, threatening triple doubles, I guess. But I don't know. Nothing else is going on. I'll take a couple of shares with Jimmy Butler just in case.
I mean, this look. I think he and Bam are both good plays anyway. And the fact that they're going to be overlooked on this slate, I'm good with playing this, deciding which one you want to play. Bam has been unbelievable, but I kind of like the idea of Butler, and it's not just the narrative; it's just the usage is there without Hero anyway. But throw a little narrative on top of it. Sign me up, man. I'm in. I mean, he's had his usage sort of has fluctuated. It's without Hero. He had it's 25 one game, then 30, then 38, then 29. It's been all over the place. And they did just play this game in Chicago, and Butler did nothing. I have a feeling, though, maybe we get the better version tonight. So I like the idea of either Butler or Bam as a play.
I have to say, as I'm building this kind of mock lineup here, I mean, I put in your Malik Beasley play as well. If you could play guys like Beasley and like Powell and like Koulibaly, I just put Poole in just for no reason, and then you could play Jokic without really sweating too much. Because those are, I mean, I think, boy, I wonder if you can make that work, that Beasley play work. I mean,
it's a little thin, but like, I mean, you've got Beasley, Koulibaly, Kispert,
right.
Manor, Powell, Pritchard, Champagne. All these guys are, look, there's a path where they all score 25 fantasy points or more tonight, and then you feel great. It's unlikely, but if that happens, you're gonna feel really good about spending up for Jokic. All right, is the Sacramento, New Orleans the next one you have?
Yeah, so this is a back-to-back for Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox was really good yesterday. He's been really good every day, honestly. There was Kevin Huerter sat yesterday. That's probably something worth noting. If he's back, I'm not getting to too much actually from Sacramento, nor am I getting too much from New Orleans. If Huerter remains out, then I think that Fox is not that Fox is dependent on Huerter being out, but then guys like Monk remain in play. Keegan Murray is always in play. Like Sohan's on the other team. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really getting to too much of this game, if you want to know the truth.
So the most interesting thing is, and the hardest thing that's going to be for any site to project, is Chris Duarte if Huerter's out again. Chris Duarte played 32 minutes yesterday.
Right.
He put up 31 fantasy points. He's 3,100. Right. If we're talking about thin value, that's one of it. But like, look, you got to embrace the risk and know that you might get 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like even if Huerter does in fact sit again, it's still very possible. I mean, without Fox,
but he started. You know what I mean? If he starts, you can be pretty safe.
If he starts, you can go. And as of right now, I'm expecting Huerter to play. But I mean, they did win the game. They've won 6 in a row. Is there a chance maybe he works himself more into rotation? Yeah, maybe we're going to see that. So it's something that at 3,100, maybe it's worth speculating, even in a thin spot. But that's really, like you said, I do think Fox is a good play. Again, it falls in that range of all these good point guards. Is he better than LaMelo? I think it's close. Like I don't have a huge take on it either way. I think they're both very close, and I can't get to anything on New Orleans, even though I keep expecting to, and we've seen a little bit of it lately. But Zion can always smash. I just we haven't seen as much of it this year as I'd like. But guy at low ownership we can certainly consider. But who would have thought at a higher price we'd be talking this quickly in his career, Wembanyama about over Zion?
Right. Yeah.
Zion without McCollum even. All right. Your Knicks in Minnesota.
Yeah. So Thibodeau going back to Minnesota is always kind of fun, I guess. Not really. I mean, probably a slow game with very little fantasy points, I imagine. But listen, the Knicks he'll probably play all his guys, presuming they're all back. Dante DiVincenzo was just this is great kind of DraftKings humor, like he was kind of popular and he scored like 22 fantasy points. Then he went to an off slate game on the 18th and scored 45.
Right.
Which is including 7 for 10 from 3. There you go.
That's tough.
So with Barrett back, I guess all those other guys are just kind of out of play. I mean, it'll probably be a good game, I guess. But unless anybody's out, I don't really have anybody projecting all that great from either side.
Yeah, it's sort of the same for me. A bunch of guys who you could play. Karl-Anthony Towns has been tearing it up lately. Maybe that's actually not the worst idea. I mean, we talk about how you're going to have a range of outcomes with Wemby. Talk about a guy a little bit cheaper who's put up 55, 36, 55, 51, 48 in his last games. Yeah, it's not the best matchup in the world for him, but Julius Randle doesn't like to come out on people too much, and he can hit some threes. I could see this being a big game for him. I always like playing Anthony Edwards. I always like, I think Gobert is totally fine, but nobody who really stands out. Maybe one thing we can consider doing is maybe playing like a Butler, Anthony Edwards type of situation. If this game was in Madison Square Garden, I'd be more likely to go for the Anthony Edwards thing. But I think those guys are like the ones they get forgotten in that price range, that 8,300. So just something I'm considering. I don't know if I'm gonna actually do it, but yeah, nothing on paper that looks great from this game. And then we get the big.
We get the late night hammer. I'm just gonna come right out with this one and say it. I'm in. Okay, I'm in, and if if I'm wrong about this one, then whatever it is. But I'm in on the Brandon P. For Golden State.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm in there with that. And listen, obviously Steve Kerr is known as a big fat liar, but nonetheless, I mean, all of his comments about him after his game, I mean, basically said he's playing, he's going to be in the rotation, he's going to continue to play, or whatever it is. And at 4,400 on a slate like this, I'm down. I'm down with it. So I think that if somehow the game, whatever, I think that he's going to play regardless. At 4,400, he's active. He's all, you know what I mean. This is my kind of guy. I'll take a shot. The Houston side is where kind of all the value is, or all the good plays are for me, though, like on this whole slate. Like my top two plays on the slate right now are Van Vliet and Sengun from Houston. They're the middling type of build that I like. They're in the same game. They're not going to really take from each other, and I kind of like both of them. One thing that I would mention, two other plays in this game, Kevon Looney is just showing up as like some play. Usually he does, but so he's showing up. One other guy, I'll ask you about him only because this is really funny. I was doing I did a Saberson build before, and I did one set, which is kind of like normal plays, and then I did a contest and whatever. I was getting 100% of a guy. I'm gonna bring him up in a second. The only reason I was getting 100% is because the Saberson ownership was like a blank. So when it's a blank, they're just going to presume he's zero owned. They're going to give it to. So, but listen, it got me to think about him. Tari Eason at 4,100 was just kind of showing up as that guy. So those are the guys I'm interested in this game.
Tari Eason is out tonight. There
you go.
Which actually, though, like
solves that problem.
I was trying to think if it opened anything up. At least as of right now, he's out. I mean, I've got him as out.
Was it Eason or was it Tate? Hold on.
It might have been Tate, who might project a little bit better with Eason out. But still, it's not projecting that great for me. I think my thing is I'll be well overweight on this game. I'll also point out that I just don't think Houston's a bad team, and I don't think they need to be 7 and 8 point underdogs every game anymore. Like I really just think betting them against the spread. I think they've lost like 2 games against.
By the way, sorry, that was my bad. It was Tate. Tate was the guy that I was getting to.
Yeah. So in order, my favorites are Van Vliet, Şengün, Jabari. I like all three. I have no problem playing all three together in what should be a pace up game against Golden State for them. With Steph back, I'm not getting to anything, but I think Looney is probably the right guy to run back. But I think you could say Looney, Podziemski, and then I would throw Jonathan Kuminga into the mix as a guy you could certainly consider. Somehow I feel like they're not being quite. They all feel a little underprojected to me, considering there's no Draymond. But at the same time, they are playing enough guys. They're really trying to find themselves right now because they've been pretty bad, to be honest. They've lost 6 in a row. They've been one of the worst teams in the NBA. So it's kind of, by the way, one of the worst teams in the NBA versus like the up and coming, strong team. And the Rockets are, 6 and 5. The Warriors are 6 and 8. And yet the Warriors, again, 7.5 points at home just seems a little odd for a team that can't seem to beat anybody right now without maybe their most important, or no, second most important player. Anyway, so Looney, Podziemski with Jabari, Şengün, and Van Vliet on the other side. Maybe that's overkill. I think I'm still willing to roll with it. Those are my priority plays on this whole slate, by the way.
That's what I was saying. Like I have Van Vliet and Şengün as my 2 best overall plays on the whole board.
Yeah, that's what and yeah, it's the same here. I've got Bridges right there too. Okay. And then Harden or Kawhi, I sort of like the idea of getting to one of those guys. And I think that's sort of the core you build with today, but you play with Podziemski. And I think, look, if you're talking about tournament plays, you're going to have to take some shots. And why not take the shots in the later games in case news does break and you get something. But one of the placeholders you can use is Moses Moody. Just want to throw that out there. So it should be kind of a fun slate. It's a nice game. There's some good games in here, and I think a lot of different ways to build. And the way I'm building those probably going to be most of the 8 Eastern games with very little like Bridges early on. Any final thought sheets before we get out of here?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to help myself. I think I'm going to throw out. I think I'm not going to play Jokic in the big one. I think I like too many of these middle range plays.
I think I'm with you.
I think it's going to end up happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I love that Beasley play of yours. I'm really yours, whatever. The Beasley play, I'm kind of getting in there. And Powell, Brzezinski, these are all sub 5K guys that you can, and I don't need to go like below that. I mean, I don't need to play Kispert if I don't want to. You play the Puli Bali, whatever is that guy, Bilal too. Mm-hmm. But I want to play both Van Vliet and Sengun, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't think you need to really spend like. I mean, look, obviously Giannis and Jokic who put up great games. If you get value, that's going to be what everybody does. But I don't want to forget about these middling builds because I think there's plenty of upside for these guys. And pretty wild that on this whole slate that the 3 best projected players are Jabari Smith, Van Vliet, and Sengun as of right now. So and then Looney on the other side. So I just don't know why we wouldn't go along with that. That's my thinking. I'm totally on board with all those guys. All right, guys, good luck today. We'll see you live at 6 Eastern, and maybe we'll touch on a little bit of football as well. I know Sheets has got the video, but because I'm not going to be there, I'll throw in what I like. And,
just after this video goes to the YouTube channel, I'm going to also post my own NBA, kind of just more focused on the Saber Sim build up, and I'm also going to put the Showdown NFL one up. I'm also going to do a little hockey thing as well. And then I have 100 calls, and then I have other stuff, and then we'll be ready at 6.
There we go. Sounds good, man. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Good luck to everybody today, and please click and like and subscribe and all that.